Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about 3 different secular high school chemistry textbook options, and I'm going to put a comment below about secular. So the first option, and we're going to be looking at 3 different price points. So first we're going to be looking at completely free. So this science is made by CK12, which from what I've seen is kind of similar to Khan Academy, and Elemental Science, which is a classical science, and they also make Sassafras, which I don't know anything about, but I just know they also make it. They facilitate the CK12 chemistry option. So this book that I have right here is a lesson planner, and so this, you have to pay for the print version, but the PDF version of this is free. So what I have on the left here is the website elementalscience.com, and you go to by age, high school, chemistry for the high school, and you can click on the ebook guide and it will download the PDF of what I'm about to show you. So this tells you and or your student what to do each day, and this is very similar to if you've seen chemistry for the logic stage. There's a lot of videos about that. So here you have week 1. It tells you the supplies. This is a lab kit you can order online, and it's linked on the Elemental Science website. Additional supplies from home, none, so that's good. And then supplies needed, so actually it is, well, I guess it's hands-on. So and then you have, this is the honors. Let me see if I just went out of order. No, okay, here's the overview, so maybe I should show you that first. So again, this is very, very similar to chemistry for the logic stage. So this is the honors course layout. So if you read on either the beginning of this book or on their website, it describes what's the difference between the honors course, the regular course, and the survey course. So this comes with your 1 year of lab credit, your 1 year of chemistry credit, and then it's honors because you're doing additional writing assignments. So it's a 5-day program, but of course you can do it shorter than that. And then here is the standard course, so there's a little bit less work. And then the survey course, I think is just meant to give you like a more laid back approach to chemistry. I think it might be the science credit, but not the lab credit. And so that's the week 1, and then you can see week 2. And so this is actually something that I had seen assigned, and I didn't see what it was talking about. So this is good. I'll just show you what I'm talking about. It says choose one of the events and science assignments. So that would be on this page, I think. Yeah, events and science. So I couldn't find that. So it tells you what to do, and then you have 2 options. So the first option is you go on the Elemental website and you click on chemistry for the high school resource page. Here you have all of the links. So these are free PDFs. Here is the student textbook. Here's the teacher edition. Here's the quizzes and tests. Here's where you can buy the lab kit. And then there's also an option to have the labs completely online. So you're watching somebody else mixing the chemicals and have them explode or what have you. And then today I discovered there's these additional hands-on activities, and I think that's what it had, the ingredients for ice cream or whatever. So that's what this is. And some of these are just Pinterest links. Some of them are blog posts. Here's all these extra additional links. So I went ahead and opened these links in advance so that I could show you the textbook. This is the PDF version. So I'm going to show you 2 different versions of the textbook. But first we're starting with the completely free CK12 textbook. Okay, so this is the free text. And as you can see, it's 847 pages. So this is a big honkin' thing. If you prefer paper, I'm sure you could get this printed. Or you might even be able to find, used copies. So if we want to look back at our assignment to see what a typical day would be like. So it says read CK12 chemistry section 1.1. So that's this. What is chemistry? So you read through this. Okay. And this is all 1.1. And here's your lesson summary. And here are lesson review questions. And let's see if it has the vocabulary, further supplemental links. And because this is a PDF, you can click on the supplemental links and then you're at section 1.2. So that is the PDF version of the CK12 science textbook. Very easy to navigate, even for people like me who are technologically challenged. Then you have, that's the textbook. Next we have the teacher's edition. So this has, very similar layout. And here you have the Introduction to Chemistry, chapter outline. And it says you can find worksheets and assessments, how to pace the lesson, how to set up the science notebook, teaching strategies, very in-depth teacher version, reinforcement activities. So this is all like general. So then we get to, if you remember from 1.1, here is, we're lining up with that, talking about pacing. So here it says it would take 2 class periods of 60 minutes each in a classroom setting. So here's the key concept. Some people refer to that as the captain idea. Then you have the lesson objectives, and this would be great if you were in a charter or some other situation where you had to show the scope and sequence. This would be, okay, here's what you're taught in lesson 1. Then here's the vocabulary, which if you recall from the lesson plan, it said to add to their science notebook. And here's an activity that you can do. And the worksheets, I haven't been able to find these, so I will keep looking. It might be at the end of this book, but I wasn't able to easily find the worksheets. And then here's the answer to the review questions at the end of the chapter. And then points to consider. And I think that's all. Yeah, so that's 1.1. So then the next link that was on the elemental science is the tests and quizzes. So I was looking at this before I started filming. So I printed those out. That's what you're seeing right here. So for every single section, there is a quiz. And, I'm not saying anyone should use all the quizzes. I just wanted to show you what's available. So again, this PDF is free. This PDF of tests and quizzes is free. The teacher's guide is free. The textbook is free. The pacing guide is free, unless you want it printed. Then you have to pay for it. Or I guess you could even print it at home. So then the cost would just be of the ink. So you have the lesson quiz and then the answer keys right after it. So if you're printing that, you'll want to make sure that you don't include that as the last page. So I'll show you the paper copies I printed out just to get like a feel for what they're like. So they're pretty dense. I wouldn't do this for every section, but I might do them every once in a while. Then you have chapter 2. I think there's 3 per chapter or so, 3 or 4. And again, all of the answers are in there. So the one thing that I wasn't able to assess in my very quick look through for this is whether you have an explanation of the answers. That was something that I had read about on a forum about if you have a chemistry course and you have students calculating various things, is there like an in-depth explanation? So I don't have the answer to that. I haven't seen it, but again, I have not looked through this extensively. That being said, the next thing I want to show you is something that I'm kind of personally excited about, and that is the CK12, all of the same stuff, textbook, but it's online. So that's what I'm going to show you next. So this is through the CK12 website, which as I said, I think is kind of similar to Khan Academy. So you create an account with CK12 as a student or as a teacher. I actually created one and I was playing around with it a little bit because you can get additional training. But so as a student, you click on Introduction to Chemistry, and there you see the same lesson that we just had in chapter 1 of the file of the textbook. So this is interactive. So we click on what is chemistry, and here it gives you an overview of the lesson. So it's kind of an interesting way to have it laid out where the student now knows, okay, here's the lesson objectives, here's the vocabulary, and then we get into 1.1. So then they do all of this reading, and this is, I think you can download this version so that you can use it offline as well in this format. So you read through this, see there's that hip replacement photo, all the same content. Then the lesson summary, lesson review questions, just like in the other version, further reading, points to consider. Then we click next, scientific method. This is 1.2. And then we have resources, details, attributions, which is kind of not really necessary. So we're on 1.2, going through that. And then I kind of just want to play a little bit with seeing if they have, I'm going to click on 2.3. So it says if you sign in, you can create your own notes and highlights. Okay, so here's a YouTube video of the decomposition of mercury. So that's obviously something that probably is not going to be right inset into the textbook version. So you could just press play and watch that without ever leaving the page. And then we here have combustion of magnesium. Then there's problems at the bottom. And so because these are in the teacher textbook, these solutions should be included in that key that I showed you. And the one thing that I wanted to show but I haven't seen is the assessments that are in here. I'm not sure where we would find them. Maybe we could go back to chemistry. Here's a simulation that's included in here. So, here's all these different videos you have access to. Then, let's see, maybe you have to scroll down. Yeah, I don't know where. I had seen it had like a little quiz where you would complete. And here's all the books again. So here we have the Chemistry for High School. This is the new version of this book that they just released. So the ones I showed you before are this other version. Okay, so I don't know where the assessments are, but whenever I saw them before, they looked a little bit different. Maybe if we go to the last lesson in chapter 1, be able to find it. Okay, so this is just different video things. What am I under? Oh, this is under concepts. So there's additional information for concepts. There you can see offline reader. So I don't know what to say about how to find the assessments and things in here. When I had first looked at this website, it was like, click on this box, take this test. And then it immediately gave you the answer of your comprehension. So you'd have to play around with it more, obviously. But the point is that this is online, easily accessible, easy to use. I'm sure with some more playing around, you could figure out the functionality. And like I said, you create an account. So maybe that's the thing, is if you're logged in, then it would give you the assessment. So that is basically everything that is from CK12, which is by, I don't know who it's by CK12, but Elemental Science with extensive resources. So that is our least expensive version of high school secular chemistry that is available. I really like it. I'm strongly leaning towards it, but I wanted to do some due diligence and see what else is out there. So now we'll move on to the next option, which will be a little bit more expensive. Let me just turn off this tablet. Where's my button? Okay. So the next thing that we have is, this is from Focus On, which is Real Science for Kids. It's called Real Science for Teens. So some people don't call this curriculum secular because in biology they avoid discussing evolution. So if you were using the biology version, you would have to supplement with something teaching that. However, for chemistry, I haven't seen any indication that this is not secular, but of course, as always, do your own research and make sure that you're comfortable with things. I ordered this set of books from Home Science Tools, and it came as a set. It was like $120, I think, and then I emailed the publisher, which is Gravitas, for the quizzes and exams, And for their younger grades, for middle school, they do have like lesson plans and notebooks, and they do not have that for high school. I don't know if it's because this is new or what is going on with that. So if you're looking for actual lesson plans where it says go read this, go do that, that's not currently available. However, this is very similar to the other products that they have available for the middle school and elementary. So if your child really likes that and you really like that approach, you can continue that through high school. So first we'll take a look at the textbook, and you can see the comparison of the different chapters. And you've got, this is 10 chapters, I think all of their books are 10 chapters, and you have an overview. So as you can see, it's pretty similar to their other textbooks. So for me, the appeal is I feel that this particular publisher, this curriculum gets kids to really love science. And so the issue for me is like, what are we trying to accomplish? Like, obviously we're trying to teach our student chemistry or whatever science it is, but are we trying to get them to memorize concepts so that they, at one point know them, but then maybe they forget them? Or are we trying to encourage this lifelong love of learning and love of science? And so I feel like this curriculum does a really good job of that. I feel like it's a very, I have very positive memories associated with using this with my kids, and it evoking interest. And as you can see, it's very colorful, and the text is broken up, which is one of the things that I personally like about it, because I find it difficult. Some other textbooks are just all dense text on the page, and my brain cannot function that way. And so similar to the CK12 curriculum, you can see that there are study questions at the end of each section, I believe. Or at the end of each chapter, I guess. Yeah, at the end of each chapter. So you also have these highlighted vocabulary words. And then you have the study questions, like I said, and then we're on to chapter 2. And I think there's a lab kit for this curriculum as well that you can get from Home Science Tools. And you can use it with that. So this is the textbook again. And again, it's very visual. So if you have a student that does really well with having visual representations, I think this is a good way to go. And I haven't looked at this yet, so that's kind of why I'm also doing an extensive flip through. And so it's basically like almost a third to the half of every page is covered with a picture. So I really like this. Okay. All right, so that's the textbook, and we'll put that over here for now. Next, we have the lab workbook, and again, this is very similar to what they have for other grades. And the experiments they have, from what I've seen in the first couple, are very easy to get the ingredients and list out. And then here you have, this is kind of setting it up for a lab report, which also is a requirement for some charters if you need that for science. And then here we have hydrogen gas, so that's an example of something that might be, you need to get the stuff for. So, very good quality labs. It looks like not too difficult to put together. Here we have, red cabbage juice, so that's a fun little lab that you can do probably also with siblings if you're doing chemistry as a family. So it just feels very accessible to me, especially as a home educator, but also for a student, not getting too intimidating with it, So that is the lab workbook. And then we have the teacher's manual. So this has the answers to this. Let's look at this, I guess, for a second. Answers to the study questions, instructions for the experiment, and then a sample experiment. And then, same thing in chapter 2, answers to study questions. So each of the things that your student's going to be doing in the textbook, you have the answers. So again, a critique that I saw online, not of this curriculum, but of chemistry curriculum in general, is you don't really have like an explanation for the answers. You just have the answers themselves. Although here you have, an example. But I'm not sure what the pain point would be if you have a student that's not understanding and you're trying to explain it. I guess you could just try to turn to YouTube for additional support. But I'm just pointing that out. And then I like how it has the instructions for the labs. That's helpful. And then there's an alternate experiment. And it tells you how long it takes. Oh, text reading time 2 hours, experiment time 2 to 3 hours. So that is the teacher's manual. So that is the Focus on High School Chemistry, which you can get from Home Science Tools. You could probably get it other places, but that's where I got this bundle from. I definitely think it's also a very solid option, and it seems very approachable, especially for someone that does not have a science background. Oh, and then one more thing. So there are midterm exam. So this is from chapters 1 to 5, chapters 6 to 10. Then there is quizzes for each chapter. So for this one, I feel like because if you remember the CK12, it was for each subsection of the chapter. This is actually for the whole chapter. So I might do this, especially since there's only 10 chapters. It would come down to like 1 quiz a month, possibly. And then you have 2 midterms. I couldn't find a final, so I'm not sure if I just didn't use the file correctly or what's going on, but anyway, and also similar to CK12, the answers are on the last page. So make sure if you're giving your student a quiz or a test, you just take that out. So this is also included with your purchase, but you have to contact Gravitas to get that file. So that is our middle expense option for high school chemistry. And then the next one that I'm looking at is from Oak Meadow. And I was able to get this used, but it was very difficult to find. There are many editions of the older version, which actually comes with a different textbook, which I had ordered. And then when I got this, I realized, not this one, this is the right one. When I got the other textbook, I was like, oh, great, this I just bought for no reason. So now I'm currently trying to sell that, but I was able to find a used version of the textbook, and I bought these as a set. So the one thing that I didn't realize when I bought this is that I got the course book and the lab manual, but I don't have the teacher manual. So I don't know if there was a teacher manual or if this person just didn't buy it, but that is something that is kind of bugging me right now about this as an option. Not sure what I'm going to do about it. But anyway, we're using Oak Meadow for literature and some other things I can't remember right now. So I wanted to give this a try. So this textbook is by, I think, W.H. Freeman. I thought it was by Prentice Hall. This is just a standard high school textbook. There's lots of used copies on eBay, Amazon, wherever you get your used textbooks from for decent prices. I think this one was $30. So this is Unit 1, Alchemy, and this is also published in 2018, so it's relatively new. This chemistry, I think, is the second most recent version. They have a different one that they're selling right now. Actually, this is 2 versions ago, because there's one that looks very similar to this in the clearance section, and then there's a new one, I think. Don't quote me on that, I don't know. But so this is a very similar layout to all Oak Meadow curriculum. You have how to read the textbook. This is like an overview for the student. And then you have the first lesson. So it tells you all the assignments that you're going to be doing and all the different options. Then the lesson introduction and lab rules. And I want to see where it is. And then there's labs right in here, inquiry activity. Okay, so I wanted to look at the reading. So it says to go in your Living by Chemistry textbook and read pages 2 to 19. So that's this textbook. So this is page 1. So it says read defining matter. So it starts on page 2. And as you can see, this is also a colorful textbook, pretty similar to the CK12, although it has more pictures. And here's, demonstration you could do. And so one thing I noticed is this is still part of the reading for lesson 1, but it's called lesson 2. So it's quite a bit of reading. So you're reading page 2 through 19. So 17 pages of reading. And you've got a lot of different topics that you're covering. And then there's reading questions and examples. So that is the whole first lesson, reading. So you do that, then you read these two appendices, then watch a video, which I actually didn't see that before, so that's cool. And then there's assignments here. So all these different things. Then there's a YouTube video. So that's kind of cool. I didn't see that this is interdisciplinary. So then you have to complete the problems. So here you have convert scientific notation. But again, the potential pain point is I don't have the teacher guide. So, but if you had the teacher guide, you would open it up and it would tell you, okay, here's all the answers to these. And here's your activities, and then you have the experiments, so we'll turn to that next, and then further study. So this is really like an in-depth lesson, lots of assignments. So I mean, I would probably have this whole lesson for 1 week, and that might be how it's set up. Let's check real quick how many lessons there are. Okay, there's 24 lessons. So yeah, so this is like 1 lesson per week type of situation, and then just have them break it up into sections, I guess. Okay, so where's the lab thing? It said, complete the lab experiment in the chemistry lab manual, laboratory techniques. And then again, you need a chemistry lab kit for this. There are several for sale on eBay. I'm not sure if that would change, if the composition of the chemistry set would change with Oak Meadow once they change the textbook. I'm not sure. I have a little peanut in here. I don't know if you could see that from shipping. Sorry, it's just bothering me. Okay, so, and that's cool. It says the lab name and then the corresponding lesson. So review of lab safety is the first one, and then here we go. So it tells you need these different materials, which I don't have to show you, and then table, graph relationships. So this sounds like the first lab is making a graph. Yeah, so the first one is really making a graph. It's not a traditional lab. And then let's just look at, here we go, experiment, exploring length. So this is kind of even its own textbook. So it's like an introduction to lab equipment and procedures, I guess. Oh, so it says it's holscience.com, hands-on labs. So that must be where you can get the lab kit if you don't get it from Oak Meadow. Okay, so it looks like the first few lessons are really like, let's get acquainted with this equipment. And then once you get to, so then you're doing the mass of things, then density. So it's kind of like a very in-depth exploration of these things. So that whole thing that we just flipped through is all lesson 1. So that is quite a lot to deal with. I would even probably break that up to 2 weeks or more because there's so many different things. So that seems to be a very in-depth lab situation. And then this is lesson 2, and I didn't realize this has writing in it, but not too much. So anyway, so that's the lab book for Oak Meadow. Looks very in-depth, looks like a lot of work, especially if you have someone that is interested in pursuing a science background. I think this would be great because, I mean, I don't have a science background, so don't ask me, for recommendations, but looks like there's really a lot. You could really dig into this. And then, of course you don't have to do everything, but if you have a kid that loves science and really wants to pursue that, I feel like you could really make a lot out of this curriculum. You could really spend a lot of time each week on this. So buying this new, I think it's like $300 and something, possibly even more, plus the lab kit, but you can get it used online. You can get it on eBay. It's very difficult to find. But it's usually in pretty good condition. And then of course there's a buy, sell, trade group on Facebook, which sometimes has things, usually pretty hard to find high school stuff. And then the other tip I would have would be if you watch out for their sales, like Memorial Day and Veterans Day and Black Friday, they do have sales where it's like 20% off. And then the last tip is they do sell these, I'm pretty sure, in digital. Their prices have gone up for the digital copies, but it is an option if you can't afford the paper copies and you can't find used copies. But anyway, so that's the 3 books, the 3 different textbooks. And so one thing I wanted to do is if we could just quickly look at the side-by-sides of the tables of content. So let me see if I can make that happen for you guys real quick. Not used to having my laptop in tablet mode, so this is an interesting change. Okay. So let's go to the textbook, look at the table of contents. Okay, so that this could actually be a side-by-side comparison, not just calling it that in the title. Okay, so in the focus on, we have matter, mass, and moles, chemical bonding. Here we have intro to chemistry, matter and change, measurements, atomic structure, electrons and atoms, periodic table, covalent bonding, the mole. And here we have alchemy, smell, which is matter, atomic structure and bonding, molecular structure, phase changes, behavior of gases. And we have, I just saw this word in the other one. Oh, here. It's the same. Energy, thermodynamics, OC, thermochemistry. And we have chemical equilibrium. What is that? Oh, so that's broken into units, and then the chapters are under the units. And then what do we have? This other one. Oops. Mixtures. So it seems like the focus on is really giving you more of like a zoomed out overview of these different content. You still have covalent bonding and these other specific topics, but I guess because it's a 10 chapter book, it's kind of really more of like an overview, like a survey, versus if you look at the specific topics in the Oak Meadow textbook and the CK12, you're really zoning, what's the word? Narrowing in on very specific chemistry concepts. So hopefully this is a helpful overview to you guys. I kind of feel like there's so much information, I don't even know how to make a decision now. Hopefully that's not true for you guys. But anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I will try and put links in the description box. Actually, I will put links to all 3 of these things. I'll put the link to the new version of the Oak Meadow because, used listings either come and go. But you can read more about their curriculum there, and they do have samples on their website. But it's really hard for me personally to look at their descriptions without having the things physically in my hands and looking through them. And that was why I went ahead and purchased this and the Focus On, so that I could flip through it and show you guys and give you my real-time impressions. So yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. I am leaning towards the CK12 because it's free and, the price is right on that. But I'm also thinking about going a different direction with living science stuff. So maybe I'll use a combination of things, or maybe we'll use 2 things and, see what works best. But I do definitely want to have a hands-on lab experience this year and get that lab credit done for my high schooler. So I'll keep you guys updated with what we choose, and please let me know in the comments if you found this helpful, and if you're going to be studying chemistry next year, if you're looking at a curriculum that it did not cover here, or just what you guys thought about this video, if this type of thing is helpful. Thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed, I would love your subscription, and everybody that's already subscribed, love you. Thanks for subscribing, and see you later.